Welcome viewers, Dr. JWAU. COVID MOTIVE. Trust the science. 3 words became almost impossible to agree with during the COVID pandemic. Trust the science. But science isn't something you trust. Science is something you question. So what happens when an evolving process of uncertainty, disagreement and revision becomes a command from institutions exercising extraordinary power, authoritarian power? During COVID, governments needed answers immediately. How dangerous was the virus? How did it spread? Would masks work? How long should people isolate? Could vaccines prevent infection, severe disease, or transmission? Science rarely produces perfect answers on demand. Evidence accumulates, studies conflict, estimates change, conclusions strengthen or collapse. Yet public policy could not always wait, even though it should have. Officials had to communicate while evidence was still developing, and simplifying uncertainty during an emergency was sometimes unavoidable. But simplification carries a danger. Viewers, confidence can begin sounding like certainty, even though it's not. Public messaging sometimes compress complicated science questions into slogans, rules, and definitive statements. Then the evidence moved. Guidance changed. Risk estimates changed. Understanding of transmission developed. Vaccine effectiveness against different outcomes changed as variants emerged and immunity waned, if it worked at all. Changing conclusions are not evidence that science worked or that it failed. And changing conclusions are often evidence that science could be working. So the hardest question is what institutions did when conclusions changed. Were uncertainties acknowledged? Were previous claims corrected clearly? Were dissenting scientists answered with evidence or dismissed because their disagreement complicated public messaging? And when governments invoke the science, whose science actually determined policy? A scientific paper cannot close a border. A laboratory cannot impose a mandate. A data set cannot issue a fine. Those, viewers, are political decisions informed by apparently scientific evidence. And that distinction matters. Because once political authority presents its decisions as simply the science, questioning policy can begin to look like questioning science itself. And that creates a dangerous possibility. And perhaps some of the distrust that has followed COVID wasn't caused by people rejecting science. Perhaps it was caused by establishments asking science to provide certainty that it absolutely did not possess.